This DJNTV show is sponsored by DJ Event Planner, Electra Voice, DJ Trivia and DJ Bingo, ProX Direct, NLFX Pro, Promo Only, Odyssey Cases, Perfect Portals, Instant DJ Requests, and our DJNTV Insiders. This is John Young from DJNTV. Thanks for watching.
Good evening. Welcome to another Monday night edition of DJNTV. Got John Young, we got Cubby, we got myself, and we are going to have a good time tonight.
Yes, that's
there we go. Yes, that I wanted to say that optimistic, but John has got questions for us.
I do. I've got questions.
That's always scary.
Sometimes it can be, but tonight I think it should be fairly easy because I went to the things I should have learned in kindergarten website, Facebook group, that thing, and got the questions from there. So we should be good.
All right, so I'm not going to know any of them. Good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. Might as well just go. So what I want to do tonight, guys, we're going to just jump right into it. I want to talk about one thing, one prediction for 2023 as you're looking into next year. What is one thing that you think you're going to get out of 2023? I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but one thing that you're going to get. It might be personal, it might be a business, but I want to make this prediction, and then we're going to look back next year at this time and see how close we were.
Oh, that is not the correct direction I thought when you posed that we were doing that question.
Yeah, well, what?
Because I didn't think of it that way.
What will 2023 bring you? Now that's what you're. So I'll let you guys think about it a little bit. I'll start.
Thank you.
My thoughts and I'm going to go business on this one. Is I'm looking at 2023 right now, and Michael and I've been working on some things with the DJ company, and I think that 2023. First off, I think it's going to be a busier year for us in the central part of the state because things haven't bounced back here as much as they have in other areas as far as the number of shows and things. But it seems that we're having some good response. We've had some decent bookings here recently, and we're into a cycle now where I'm having less people ask about, oh my gosh, the price is really bad. So I'm looking at 2023. I think we're going to have a big year at the mobile DJ side of it from our mobile DJ business. Maybe not so much in other areas, but I'm thinking the DJ should be a pretty decent year because the DJ business is still that recession-proof business. It just can't handle pandemics. So that was my thought.
Dan, you want to go or you want me to go?
If you got yours, go ahead. Give me a couple more seconds to kind of make mine eloquent.
Right. And I think mine's going to seem like it's cliched, but it's going to be growth. And it's going to be growth personally and business-wise on multi-levels, meaning growth business-wise. I want to hire another DJ into next year. We are not the biggest. We're in a small town, Midwest. I never want to be the biggest. I didn't want the headaches of 25 DJs. But we're looking to hire another DJ. I want to hire another DJ by the end of next year. I want continued growth within the industry. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I think there's a couple of areas I can get better in, and so I want to attend a couple more shows. And then personal wise, I want to, be able to relax and enjoy a little bit more. I always seem to be like really hiatus every week. Make sure everybody's ready, just kind of get a more of a pattern and routine down. But that kind of growth internally as well.
Nice.
Sounds cliched, I know, but
yeah. Well, that you do have that T-shirt that says "I'm a walking cliche." So,
yeah.
There's that.
That was a nice skit from John, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So for me on my personal side, my plan is to have kind of very similar to Cubby's, a step back in some aspects. I found this past year I was running myself a little ragged in the DJ side. So my plan is to take a step back. But I think it was easier for me to say that when my gigs were not coming in quite as fast. So it was like, oh, that's just going to be out of it. What I'm seeing per professional side is that I'm getting a lot of more last minute. No, I don't want to say last minute, but you know, I'm still getting calls for stuff in the early part of summer, where in the past couple of years, I've been like, all right, we're into 2024. Forget about this year.
Sure.
But I'm getting a lot more of that last minute. So I'm seeing some more of that stuff. So I'm thinking I'm going to see, kind of similar to Cubby, I'm going to see some growth in my business. Specifically, I'm targeting my photo booth business increasing. So that's what I'm looking for. Not more people, just getting that out more. And as a result, then being able to step back and have some more family me time, purposely taking an extra date off a month.
Nice.
That's a good one. That's a good one, Dan.
Yeah. No, that is wonderful.
He's going to throw it in my face next year and go, see, you didn't do it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
"Oh,
You see, the photo booth didn't go out. You were DJing every Friday and Saturday, and your family's like, can you leave a picture on the mantle before you leave, Dad? Because we don't remember who you are.
No, they just get me confused with the other guy.
There is that. All right,
I'm
guys.
kidding.
We're going to jump
I have
to
some
our
friends watching it, and they're going to tell my wife. And
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
kidding.
Who's the other guy? All right, we're going to jump into our questions next. We're going to get our little break in right here. All right, our first question tonight is one that we've all had to deal with when it comes to charging or figuring out how to charge for family and friends, or if we even perform for family and friends. Some people do, some people don't. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on this when it comes to family and friends and your DJ business?
I can take it. Go ahead.
Go for it.
My policy is I would not give any more of a discount than I would buy a gift for that person. Extended pay. So if I'm going to go attend a wedding and I was going to buy them a gift, it would be, if it's $150 value, then I would take $150 off my service. I do business with my cousin who's an insurance agent. He doesn't cut me any additional rates because he can't, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my philosophy is, this is how I support my family. I appreciate you coming, asking for me to do your wedding. But if I'm going to attend your wedding as a guest, I would probably invest $100 to $150 into a gift. So I'm willing to take that off my rate. I don't know, am I a bad guy? I don't know, but I got a budget that I got to make, each and every month, targets. And so what's my philosophy.
Have you ever had a family member or a friend who, after you presented that, they went a different direction because they were like, yeah, they expected it for a lot less?
No, I actually don't have a big family, so I'm kind of golden in that way.
Okay.
My dad was one of the oldest of his siblings, so like my nieces and nephews or my cousins, my cousins are a lot younger than me, and they don't have their kids getting married yet. So, so I'm good right now.
Yeah, interesting. Dan, what are your thoughts?
So, I think for me it depends on how close the friend is, and from that standpoint. So I've had a couple of friends of mine reach out, and one was a buddy from high school, and I gave him a wicked killer deal, really way lower than I should have. And this is back even when I charged a lot less. But then I had another one who was a good friend of myself, and my wife and I were friends with him and his wife to be. And I actually went a step further because I didn't want to work his wedding. I wanted to be able to attend his wedding. And it really just came down to when I get in work mode, I'm in work mode. And so my wife coming along, it's not the same. Like, she's not having fun. So I actually reached out and paid the DJ for his wedding and didn't do it. So like you talk about a gift. I went, not just was like DJing it for free. I paid somebody else to do it. And this was it was a really good friend of mine, and he had helped me out with my business different times and run the photo booth and stuff. And I was like, no, we're doing it. And to surprise him with it, I said, you reach out to this person. That's who you want to call. And then I called him and I was like, what's your deal? And I said, if they go with you, let me know. I'm paying it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the end of it. But I have had a family member. I did have a cousin who reached out to me earlier on in my business and asked me my rates, and I gave them to him, and they ended up going with somebody else. I don't know if they were expecting it to be free or if they just ended up going somebody cheaper, but they did end up choosing somebody cheaper.
Sure. Yeah, this is definitely a tough area because I've struggled with this myself, and I really like the thought behind what you were saying there, Cubby, when it came to that. That's a very neat idea.
I think if you rationalize it that way, say, look, this is unfortunately is what I do full time, and it literally is what I do full time. I don't have another job. I think they get it. Like I said, they say, if I just explain it, I'm not trying to be bad. It's just what I do.
Yeah, and I think it's also, it's a lot more difficult within our business than it is, say, cake maker, right? Because a cake maker can give you, I'm going to say, give you the cake, right? I'm not saying anybody should do that necessarily, but I'm saying they could give the cake, and they could still make another one or two that day to take out, right? If we do their event for free, there's no other event that we're doing that day. There's no other way to make that income that day. I've had some people who have taken the philosophy. I really like yours, Cubby, but I've had some who have taken the philosophy of, especially those really close friends, of charging them what it breaks down to their business's cost for that day.
Mm-hmm.
So they figure out, okay, my music and my insurance and my gas and all that, this totals this, wear and tear on the equipment, the whole thing totals this. So I want you to pay for basically the rental of everything, and I'll do my part for free. And that's kind of another interesting way to go about it. I mean, you really have to have an understanding of what each event costs you to do. But again, for those close friends, you're not doing it for free, but you are, you're for free, but it's not like there's no money transaction.
Yeah. Interesting thoughts, gentlemen. We're going to jump. Yeah. Let's jump to our next question here, guys. Here we go. Our next question is talking about a laptop. Someone was saying that they wanted to use their laptop for DJing and wondering if they needed to buy a second one to have one exclusively for DJing, or if they could use the one that they're using on a daily basis, probably for checking email, doing some web surfing and such. Gentlemen, how do you handle this? Dan, we'll start with you since Cubby started the last one. When it comes to a laptop, do you have a DJ specific, or can it be used for other things also?
The word "can" I think is the where you might want to go. Is yes, you can use it for both. I don't. My DJ laptop is strictly my DJ laptop. In the beginning, when I was really struggling with that purchasing too, my DJ laptop was one that was my main one, and I didn't use it for anything else. And my backup was my office laptop. I've now gone a step further, and I have backups that are completely just music playing devices, nothing beyond that. I think that's the safest way to go. When you're using it day in and day out for all the nuances, things that you might do with an office computer, it opens yourself up to harder wear and tear on that system that you're going to then use for playing. I think if you're really struggling with having a second, like, you get a main DJ. If you want to use your office for your backup, I get it. But even some of the tablets are so inexpensive now compared to what they were. Like, you can have that. You can have a completely removed system without having to use your office piece.
Cubby, what are your thoughts?
I totally agree with Dan on that one. I actually have three, but one stays home. But I have a ceremony laptop that has all the music queued up for the ceremony, and I have one that saves with my system. It saved me about a year and a half ago. I have a Daddy Mac stand. I left my system set up, laptop on my little thing up there top. I went off to do the ceremony. It was offsite, not offsite, but it was just down the hill a little ways. Well, some big wind came up and blew my laptop off my stand. Ooh. And it shattered. So thank goodness I had my ceremony laptop. And in every laptop, both my ceremony and my reception, I have my ceremony playlist and my reception playlist with all the songs in my crate. I use virtual DJs, so I call it a playlist. I don't call it a crate. But I have my ceremony songs in order, I have my reception songs in order that I'm going to use them on both laptops. And it saved me that day. And that is the exact reason. And I have one at home so that the next week I'm not crunching to, it doesn't always get updated. I'm going to be honest, very, very honest. It doesn't get updated as much as my two that I'm always using. But I do it on at least a quarterly basis, or every 2-3 months, I'll do that third laptop.
And
John, how about you?
I'm in a very similar boat here. But the time frame is the interesting part. Is that my very first laptop that I used DJing, I was using it to do some other side things also. I was doing some video, iMovie editing with it, but basically it was meant for the DJ. And my backup at that time was CDs, because that's what we had at that time as we were getting into it. So we were talking, this would have been about 2004, 3, 4, somewhere in there. It was pretty early on with my first laptop. So as time progressed, I would have a second laptop, but my first one became just a DJ laptop, and that would have probably started, maybe that laptop is a 2012. It's a 2012 MacBook Pro, and that's the first one that I bought just to be a DJ laptop. It does not have the ability to do, I didn't put any graphics programs on it or anything beyond that. It's just strictly music and playback. So that 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it was that I was using one that was multitasking. But then my backup was my multitasking one. I had a MacBook Air in there shortly thereafter, and that became the one I would use for checking email, while watching TV at night, and then it would go into the bag as my backup. It wasn't until 2020 was the first year that I had a dedicated main and a dedicated backup. So now I have 2 laptops that are out there, and they're just strictly DJ laptops, and I don't use them for anything else. That could if I wanted to, but I don't do that. So and
I guess it's where you are in the business. When I first started out, I didn't have a lot of money. It was free, excess income to be able to do that. As I built my business and it grew, going to the trade shows, I watched a lot of people talk about it. Drax is like, never let it hit the internet. You get a virus. You can afford a virus on the day before your wedding. So, it wasn't until I grew my business. So it depends where you are with your business. For me, like I said, now I'm able to do that. But when I first started out, just like you, man, I was.
Yeah, we had to do what you need to do. That's for sure. All right. Let's jump to our next question.
They just go away.
Our next question tonight is lighting. We're going to be jumping away from business, and we're going to get back to some business questions, but we're going to talk about lighting. Somebody was asking, how do you control your DJ lights? And this is kind of an interesting topic, because a lot of you follow Brian Red, and over the years, Brian has been kind of, the complexity of DMX has been pretty intimidating for a lot of people, and he wasn't a huge fan of it. The times have changed a little bit, and he's doing more with some of the different tools, but not everybody likes that. So let's find out. Dan, I think Cubby, you start this round. What do you do with your lights to control them?
Great, thanks, John.
You're welcome.
This season, I invested in some Cubby sticks, those sticks that stand up and everything, and I have not had the time to learn how to control them. So they are just solid during the slow dances. I turn down the temperament so it doesn't mess with the photographers. And then when the dance portion goes, I just, auto, and they're all autoed. During this off season, I'm going to get into the DMX and learn how to use them a little bit better. But this season, just auto.
Mm-hmm. Dan?
Okay. So I'm using Show Express. I've had it for years. However, I only have enough DMX to set up different colors for solids. And then I have triggers in there to activate the sound active programs within my lights. So the lights that I have different sound actives. So I've got DMX steps that say, okay, I'm going to do this active. I'm going to do that active. I'm going to do that active. My up lights have a couple scenes created because they don't have anything really that I liked. And then to kind of take a step further, I don't know if this was necessarily what the question was asking, but I had that program running on my main laptop. I have an internal network system set up within my piece, but I run it off of my iPad. So I'm able to trigger all the scenes without having to like shrink virtual DJ to get to the program to then trigger the next one. I don't have to worry. It runs in the background. Everything's controlled off the laptop, and then I just fire what I want. And I will say this: I did not realize, but they are they're up to Live Mobile 3. That's like the app that you use to control within Show Express. If you're using one of the older ones, because you update, but it's a new app. So go get the new app if you're using Live Mobile. If you don't have Live Mobile 3, I was using one for years, and like 3 just blew me out of the water when I found it by accident like 2 months ago. So there's a little extra tip for you.
So in many ways, I'm probably closer to Cubby from the standpoint is that I own the little box for Show Express, and I own a copy of Show Express, but I haven't sat down to learn how to use it. I own the DMX, the American DJ DMX thing that will hook to the computer and do its thing, but I've never sat down and figured out how to use it. I do know how to use the iPad version, and Howie has been a huge help with that. By the way, if you guys want to learn how to use DMX and use the iPad with the Airstream bridge, Howie's the guy. You buy an hour or two of his time, and he will show you some incredible things and save you hours, if not days, worth of time setting up your lights. That's what I use to control for school dances when we're doing more floods and more moving heads and having more fixtures out there. For weddings, in most weddings now, I'm just using uplights, and I'm using some dance floor wash, and I'm using all Bluetooth, the Bluetooth from Chauvet, and I'm using a mobile device with the Airstream, the BT Air app from Chauvet. Simple, quick. We put the stuff up, we do the dance, and when we're done, we're out of there in less than 10 minutes of light setup and down. If I need to have more elaborate, again, I go back to the Airstream DMX things on the iPad. But if I don't, it's just going to be the Bluetooth stuff. And then someday I'll learn how to run the other things.
We'll learn together.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be the most fun we've ever had. All right, let's jump to our next question, guys. The next question is about the business side of things, where we have to keep track of our numbers, whether they're expenses, whether they're whatever it's involved with it when it comes to getting ready for our taxes. Everyone does it a little bit differently, and we're going to find out how we do it in this question. So let's see. Are we up to Dan? Dan, are you going to lead us off here? I think so.
I guess so. So do you want the real answer, or do you want the real answer?
I want the what you actually do, and then the what you should be doing. Those are always fun.
Okay. There we go. No, I was kidding. So I was just going to say, well, I figure out my expenses, and then I add $50 to it, and that's how much I made for the year. No, don't do that. I'm kidding. Trust me. I know people that do that. I'm not one of those. So one of the things that I do, and I've gotten a habit of doing, is I track all my expenses through any receipt I get. So I try and do as much digitally as possible so that I have all my receipts just kind of all right there. And I dump them into a folder that I have within Dropbox so that it's backed up. And then at the end of the year, when I'm tabulating everything, I put into an Excel spreadsheet, and then I break it all down, and then I give that to my accountant, and they take it from there. And then my expenses are all tracked through DJ Event Planner, because it tracks all the income that I have. It's all right there. Every event's taken care of, and I can quickly just look at it from the year standpoint, and then my bottom line's done. So using a software, and I know some of you are going to be like, well, DJ Event Planner has the ability to do that too. I understand that, but that means I'm entering stuff as I go with the expenses, and I've kind of gotten a better habit of, I shouldn't say a better habit. I've gotten more used to doing it the other way for the expenses. So that's what I end up doing.
And I think there's something to be said about when you have whatever your methodology is, it's more important to keep on it, because if you all of a sudden, I'm going to switch over to using XYZ, DJ Event Planner, whatever. And if you don't stay with it, all of a sudden then you've dug yourself into a hole. So you're better off, putting them in a shoebox and then doing what you're doing until you get to that point where you can, you're independently wealthy and you can hire people to do it for you. That works.
Let me know when you get there.
Yeah, I will. I'll give you a call right after I do get there, which don't expect that call soon. Cubby, what do you do to keep track of your business stuff?
I know I keep saying this before, but Dan's the man. Same thing. Try to keep as much digitally as possible using DJ Event Planner, also QuickBooks. But I use 2 different credit cards. I use the Ben's card the NLFX credit card, and then one when I don't purchase through Ben, say it's like another purchase through another company, which I don't like to do very often. I have one credit card that I use, so I can go back to all my statements on that one card, not use multiple cards or my bank account or my business account or whatever, just one card. Then it all just kind of funnels in. And I'm like, Dan, DJ Event Planner is just so well versed. I just been doing that for years. So when I made the move from a previous company, it's kind of the way that I was doing it there. So I just kind of kept the ball rolling without as before. So
do very similar with what you guys are both talking about. One little tidbit with the credit card thing is I have credit cards for the two different businesses. I've got the two there, and Lori's got hers for her business. I have found, because one of the cards, when the number gets stolen, or I have a problem with it, which has happened like in the last 5 years, it's like in the fall, something all of a sudden, there's charges that come up on a credit card or whatever it is, and I have to get a different card. That if I don't download the statements, the digital statements from this particular company, they're gone. And then all I have is they're printed. I can't download it into an Excel spreadsheet. I can just print them out, and then I have to manually go through and pull things apart. No fun. So my part of my process now is like every 2 months I set a reminder on calendar to pop up and say, hey, download the data from that credit card. And so far last year and this year I haven't had, but it's happened to me twice. Like in October, October of 19, we were down in Vegas and the card got stolen, the number, and I reported it, and I didn't download the stuff before, and when they shut off the card, all access to anything but past printable statements was gone.
Never had that happen, but that is great advice.
Yeah, that was a real pain. The other area that I struggle with is mileage, keeping track of mileage with vehicles, because I do, with the DJ Event Planner, I can see where I'm going and where I've been, but there's always more mileage. Like if I'm going to go visit somebody with the vehicle, so I've literally gone and I have a note on my cell phone. That is the travel for the year, and in that I log what the travel was. Another week to 10 days, I will go to the truck and I will write down what the December 31st, January 1st mileage is. So I have that, and then that'll let me know how many miles I did for the year, and then I will also keep track of how much of those miles. Oh, here's a 20-mile trip for business for this business and this one, and that way at the end of the year it makes it a lot easier for me to be able to go through and total those things up and put those in, because the way the taxes are is you put your total miles in, and then you put how many miles you did for this business and how many miles you did for that business when it comes to your vehicle. So I've tried to do it in a more fancy way, and it's like this, just kind of like Dan was saying, it just works for me. There might be other ways, it might be prettier ways, but this just works for me.
I will say, when it comes down to it, I know I cheat myself out of expenses for exactly what you said, like the mileage and stuff. Because my personal vehicle is the vehicle that I also use for DJing. It's my daily beater, but it's also what I use to tow my trailer. So, I will say this: if there's a way to track mileage and have it accumulate within Event Planner like an automatic, somebody show me how to do that, because I was trying to do it one time where I set all my venues up and I said, okay, it's this far from my house and everything. And I thought, oh, it's going to give me a report. Like it's going to automatically do it because I did that event, and, and I put in this meeting, which was this far away, and and I didn't have any mileage when it was all said and done. So I know I did something either wrong or it doesn't have that feature. So, Troy, if you're watching and you want to let me know, go for it.
I think it does have that feature, actually. You just have to figure out, because I know there was a time that I had the mileage, and it had popped up on some of them, because I had some of them set right and some of them maybe not set right. So, all right, gentlemen, let's go to our next question. Our next question, we're talking 2023 once again, and will you be raising your rates for next year? And if you are, how do you go about raising your rates when it comes to that time of the year to raise your rates for the next year? So I think then we're back to, is it Cubby this time? I think we're back. Cubby.
Yeah, I do intend to raise my rates for next year. We've gradually raised them this year due to the rising costs of inflation and gas and things of nature. So it was kind of a trending thing already. Starting back in July, when some of the gas rates were starting to go up, we said, okay, let's add another $100, add another $100. We will be at 1st of January raising our rates again. And we just do it. I mean, we don't do it like it's more incrementally. It's not like boom, $500, but we know where we want to be, and we'll start out the first of the year, and then again do another raise, probably depending on what the economy is going to do. Maybe the next 3-4 months, raise it again and revisit it. But we had to do it a couple times already this last fall, and it was well received. I mean, we never anybody buck, and that's another thing. When you and I know a lot of people's business theory is when you get booked out a lot, you need to raise your rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when dates are filling and it's too easy, it's an easy for them decision for them to go with you. You should raise your rates, and so we were doing that, and like I said, this fall is just no bucks. I mean, nobody was was saying anything bad about it. So
Sure.
like I said, we just keep doing it.
So when you're talking about raising, are you raising like 50, multiple times a year? You mentioned, is it like jumping a $50-$100 thing?
$100 each increment.
Okay, just to give you guys out there watching an idea of what kind of thoughts Cubby has with that. So Dan,
now one thing that I always do is I always keep.
Yep.
So I'll raise my base, but keep my overtime really okay. So it's not 1977 overtime rate, but it's the same. I mean, it's because I don't want to be like, oh, by the way, so I keep my overtime rate the way that it is.
That's funny, but logical, very logical.
And it's funny because I haven't changed my overtime rate in years, and it's not because I'm worried about forgetting it. It's just one of those things where I've started to put more value on all the stuff that I do that leads into the event, and not to say the stuff that I do at the event isn't as important, but if I go an extra hour, that's worth some money, but the reason why you're paying so much up front for me is because of all the stuff that I'm doing that is before I ever get to your event.
Very good thought.
So, and I don't know if there's any mentality, I share what my overtime rate is with the couples anytime you go over this certain number, and I haven't really had anybody come back and say, well, why is your overtime rate this, is only this, but yet for 5 hours or 4 hours, whatever package you get, it's this. And I haven't had anybody do that. So, but I think by having that overtime being much less than what the per hour would work out to for my big package, it gives a better impression that there's a lot more happening than you think. At least that's what I'm hoping. I will say I've already put a raise next year in place. However, I will say this, John, I'm hoping we still have the video up. Dave Tournier did a video a few years ago about raising rates and talking about the policy to do it. And it was gold. It really was. And his mentality is don't wait for January 1st. If you're going through the process, and he talked about, when's a good time to up rates and kind of with what Cubby was saying, some of it was like, if you're not really getting pushed back, that's a sign to up your rates. And again, not like you jump from 1,000 to 2,000, but there's some sort of increment and kind of seeing that go and when's a good time to do it. And he said, don't wait.
Yeah,
there's nothing. If you're in May and you're having all these signs that you can increase your rates, you could have some fall dates at higher rates. Why wait until January 1st? There's nothing magical about the calendar. I will say that the one nice thing about maybe that calendar-esque type of thinking is, for those of us that have that winter lull because of weather type of things going on, you kind of like, okay, new season, new rates. Like I kind of get that. But no, I'm raising my rates for next year. I did just a flat $400 increase. And how I decided it was I looked at what my smallest package was, of just doing the reception. And I was rarely getting that. I was really going out mainly for receptions and ceremonies. But every time I would get that reception only, I felt like I was taking a pay cut. So I'm like, you know what? I can bring this up to this price. This can be my new bottom floor. And this is where I'm at. I will say it's always scary when I do it. Every time I've done a pay increase, it's always felt nervous. This year felt a little bit more nervous because as I was talking earlier, how I'm not getting as many events, or I wasn't getting as many events in advance. And so I started guessing myself, was it my prices?
Sure.
Did I price myself out? Did I do something like that? And no, it was the clientele was, at least for my clientele, it was their pushback. So I felt a little bit better now. My rates are there and I'm moving forward. I think everybody should. Now, I will also say, though, I've already predetermined because I'm starting to get calls for 2024. I'm going to stay at 2023 for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of my thought. That's kind of where my gut is telling me. Um, I would also say anybody's thinking about pay raise, think about your next 2 or 3 years. Think about what you want to do, because you can be like, oh, for 2023, I'm going to do this. And then you start getting 2024 and you're like, oh, well, I guess I'll just give you the same rate because I haven't thought about that yet. Start thinking now. If you're going to do it on that January 1st type of idea, start thinking now where you're going to go.
My version of the calendar when it comes to raising rates is generally the beginning of October. That October 1st they'll change for the next year, and that's where I have done that. This year, I think it was I think I jumped about $200 per show on the different packages. But one of the things is as Michael's experience level has increased, now he is getting closer price wise to my show, because we were charging two different rates because he just didn't have as much experience. Granted, he still doesn't have as much experience, but he's got a lot of good quality experience to bring him into a better place when it comes to that. So that's kind of where I've used it is in October, and I've always kind of looked at it as, okay, in October we can do that. We can quote the higher prices in October, November, December, and if we have to, and we just for some reason it's not working, we still have the January booking show where we can maybe change, or at the end of the January time frame, which used to be the bridal show time in our neck of the woods, and we can always go back March and go back to the prior year rates if we needed to. The irony is I've always had that as an out clause, and we've never used it. It's just once you start confidently talking about what you can deliver for the rate you're going to charge, it usually the people who are going to buy it at that rate. The people who would have never bought your first show because it was too expensive aren't going to buy it anyway. So you might as well not be leaving money on a table, or going out and feeling like you're undercutting yourself.
John, something else I think to that really would also help is, whether it's October 1st or September 1st, a lot of us, we've seen kind of a trend over the years where summers used to be big for people. And then now it seems, at least where I'm at, fall is like huge. Like I can be booked for fall and have holes in the middle of summer just because the way it's gone lately. If you raise your rates kind of with that fall mentality, now you can kind of look at it as, well, if you decide to back off, you can be like, well, I was charging a premium for a premium date. Like you can justify it that way if you decide to.
Sure.
But by doing that increase for the fall, and them, because they're probably going to book you, like you're going to get booked for those dates. It also gives you more confidence going into the next year that you're going to get those rates because you already have gotten those rates. Mm-hmm. Because again, it was a premium time, so people were more, yeah, it's a fall date. I need to get a DJ, and I want you, so I'm going to pay it
for sure. All right, let's jump to our next question.
What is it?
So the next question is about speakers. Somebody was asking, they were just going to get into it, and they were wondering what would be a good set of speakers to get into to start. And of course, we could sit here and talk about brands forever, and I don't really want to go there. But the direction I wanted to go is what would you recommend? There's the mini array systems. There's point source systems of a variety of different sizes. If somebody were going to be starting out and they needed to go buy a couple of speakers, what would you kind of recommend that they would go with that's going to get them started for a period of time, or might even be something that they would be able to use for a long time if they're really kind of concerned about their budget? And I think, Dan, we're up to you.
Okay. So if I was just starting out and I was wanting to get my speaker set up, there's one or two directions I would tell you to go. But the first that I would tell you to go is the direction that I picked, which was to pick a pair of tops, full range tops, 12-inch speakers, because they're going to be the most versatile for you in a lot of aspects. It gives you the option that later down the road, when you have some more money, you can add some subs to it. When you're doing bigger events, you then have that extra bass that you need. But in the same respect, when you're starting out, you probably also don't have a large amount of space to haul stuff. They don't take up a lot of space with the 12s. Or 15s, right? Like my personal opinion is 12s are what 15s were when I started, right? They have a good type of sound to them. But I think that would be the first place I would recommend to anybody is looking at that, because also if you decide to then later upgrade your system and say um, go to the column array systems and that kind of thing, you still have these full range cabinets that you can use, cocktail that you can use at a ceremony site, that you can, they're maybe not battery powered, but you can still use them in other places. They're not, well, I'm no longer using them, so now they're out the window. But the one piece that I would give you is, if you can, the adage is buy once, cry once. If you can spend a little bit of extra money to get that better line of that speaker, or the better model of that speaker, the best bang for the buck, take advantage of it and do that, rather than buy here and then, I got to buy again, and now I got to buy again, right? And each time you're like, oh, it's like a gut punch.
Cubby.
How do you know I have me on here? Dan is just killing it. I would, same as Dan, I'd get the 15s. I would do 15s versus 12s, because depending on the events, you can do a little larger events. You can always turn it down. 12s, you can always push 12s. You can only push so hard. So I'd probably stick with 15s until, like I said, and I would, like you said, invest into what you can and do and suck it up, and they'll last you a good 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, honestly,
At least.
Just whatever you do, don't buy the speaker that has got the LED lights on the inside of them. That does not, just don't do that. Whatever
But
you
it's
do.
a speaker and a light show in one, man.
I
Awesome.
know. Just don't do that one. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. I love entry level DJs. I think they're great. I remember when I was one, and I try to help as many as I can. But I would go with the 15s and stay away from the lighted speakers.
So my thought, I'm a huge fan of 12s, but if you're going to look at 12s, there's two things with it that would, if you're going to be looking at wanting to do like some smaller school dances or expand into that arena a little bit, I think I would probably look at a 12, and I would look at it, if I'm doing a 12, I would do a wooden box. I would not go plastic box. If I were going to be just doing, I'm going to be doing weddings and backyard parties, I'm never really wanting to do anything for the teen world, I'd probably look at 15. Now, if 15 weight becomes an issue, I would probably look at a 15 in a plastic box, because there's going to be less weight, and there's some plastic companies out there that have the plastic 15s that can still give you a lot of sound pressure. So it's really going to depend on where you want to go. If you are not seeing yourself doing things where you're going to need a sub, the 15 weight's an issue, plastic. 15 wooden box would obviously be the best sound you're going to get out of a 15 two-way, but then you're also dealing with more weight. One thing Cubby had his one thing not to do. I'll have one of those too. I would not buy go to Amazon and you type in, you can go find a little array systems from Amazon for like $300 a piece. I would not buy those, because I have had those come through, and you will notice on our channel you aren't seeing many of those videos. You've seen a couple of videos here and there talking about some weird stuff, but a lot of those speakers, when they have come out here, there's no fans, there's no cooling, there's no ducts or fins on the back to keep the amp cool. It's like, how long is this going to last? That kind of stuff's unfortunately really common. So if you're going to buy, I would find a reputable brand and find, in essence, the best you can buy that's going to fit you for future needs.
Can I interject there for just
go
1
ahead.
second? And I'm not trying to knock you down, but I'd also, whatever market you're in, if you're in a larger city market, you're not going to get some of the small schools, smaller schools, so 12s would never work. I mean, so you've also got to, like, what's the average size in your, like, Chicago weddings, probably some are fairly large, right?
Yeah,
the schools are fairly large. You're not going to get a 100-person school, some like I get in Iowa, but also some larger schools in Iowa as well, the larger markets, Des Moines, but then also do smaller schools. So anyway, it all depends on what you're going after. If you're starting in, what are you looking for? What are you going after? Are you looking for the big schools, small schools? And I guess it all goes kind of in your business plan as well.
Very, very true. Yeah, where you want to go is the big part of it, because otherwise you're throwing money away. And
too much if you went too big. If you went too small, then you don't have enough.
Okay, we're going to do one more question, and we're going to wrap it up, because after this, you guys will head out to DJNTV.com/chill with Hangout for Howie, and that'll be coming up in about 15 minutes. But we have one last question for tonight's show. Our last question tonight is dealing with the paid for services out there, and specifically one that most all of us get emails for is from this company called Bark, where they'll say that Joni has a request for entertainment on this day, and she has 300 guests. She wants an interactive DJ or fun jugglers or whatever it is, and oh, by the way, for 6 credits you can get her information, so you can contact her. That's Bark. There's other versions out there from different companies. Gentlemen, would you use a service that is a pay for service like that? If you have, what are your results and what are your thoughts with that? And I think, Cubby, you're first. Yes.
Oh, thank God, because Dan's killing it. I have never used one of those services, but then again, they weren't around when I started, and so I'm not saying that that I wouldn't have used it today if I was starting new. I might I might buy 100 credits and see where the 100 take me. But when I first started out, and I sound really old, I didn't know his daughter's party on the Ark, and we didn't have that type of a party. We didn't have those. It was more grassroots. You had to network with your photographers and venues, and try to get business where you can. Again, now I'm in a place where I don't need it. But if I'm starting out new, and we always talk about new DJs, I'd spot 100 credits to see where I'm at and see what it gets me. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, everything's digital nowadays. It truly is. I'm just fortunate enough that I've been in my market long enough that I get leads through venues and so on, and referrals and so on. So the easy ones. So
sure.
I'm not saying it's bad. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I would probably give it a shot if I was starting out.
Mm-hmm. Dan,
I've never heard of anybody that's had a good experience, bidding on them and running for them. What has often been the case, and what you often hear is the case, is that usually the people that are utilizing those services for their weddings are, for lack of better terms, tire kickers. And it very well, there might, not saying that there aren't some people that do, they had no idea where else to go, but a lot of people that are doing it use the services, when they're out there looking for stuff, they use the services that are geared towards the wedding scenes, the knots, the wedding wires, the things like that. So there are more, for lack of better terms, reputable sites when it comes to weddings. Now, DJ Stacy, Trackstar, she was basically talked about this at the expo this past year, where the idea of not using Bark for weddings, but using it for corporate clients. Because while there are these sites for like Wedding Wire, the Knot, and all that kind of stuff for weddings, there's really not a lot of stuff out there for corporates. So looking at a way that you specialize and tweak how your setup is so that you're not losing out on weddings, but you're able to cater to corporate on the days where you wouldn't be doing weddings, you can actually make a lot from it. Have I ever used Bark or any of the services like that? No. And to be honest with you, I was not interested in doing what I need to set up that depth of a piece just to have it. But as Cubby said, exactly. I mean, if you're starting out and you're looking for a way to kind of get your footing, these yes, they might be tire kickers, but in the same respect, if you're starting out and you're trying to get your feet wet, you got to do it somehow.
Sure.
And here's an opportunity, just reaching out somehow to get your foot in the door with some of these. And then, because again, there's other people like myself who's not using it. So there's an opportunity for you to get in where some people are saying, no, I'm just not even going to bother.
And I think that's a great point when it comes to the newer DJ, because when we were first starting, we could generally, if we had a good music collection, we could go find ourselves and playing in a bar to get experience, or we could do a variety of different shows just because a music collection was semi-unique back in the early and mid 90s. Whereas today, everyone has that same music, and Spotify has a bigger music library than we do type of thing, and you can make a playlist on Spotify, and there's so many things that today's DJs can be replaced with when it comes to these learning type events, that now sometimes you got to be a little more creative where to find those less expensive or less profitable shows, but you're getting your experience, and that's a big part of it. So Bark could be a great example of a spot to do that, especially in some markets where there are people looking for DJs in those markets, but nobody, because it's a market full of, the three of us, and we're not going to give it the time of day when the bark thing comes through. We're like, yeah, whatever. And there's probably somebody in our market who's like, woohoo, there's another one. I paid $7 and I got myself, and I don't know how much they are, but I booked myself a $400 wedding and it only cost me $700.
That's what I was thinking about. I was like, none of us do it, but somebody in my market goes and does it. They get somebody responds like, "Oh crap, look at that! I got a DJ."
Yeah.
And it could really work out well for them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you really start thinking about it. When we were doing bridal shows, there were many times we had between $1,500 and $2,000 just in a small, tiny little bridal show that had 100 brides. Wasn't uncommon. Well, geez, $2,000 could buy you a lot of bark credits, I'm sure. And it may even lead to more bookings than that 100-person bridal show that I used to do back in the early 2000s. So who knows?
Something else to be said. There's a couple other sites that are like that, that have free listings within them. You don't get a lot unless you do anything with it. But I've heard a lot of people make the claim that even having your name out there in these sites and these free listings helps your SEO and helps that link between the two, and more places do it. So there is something to be said of utilizing those services, even if you don't end up planning on actually utilizing those services.
We have some Facebook groups locally, and I'm sure maybe you have the same ones. It's like Wedding Venues Des Moines or Iowa or whatever. And one guy's like, I put my name under everybody looking for a DJ because if they click on my website, it helps my SEO. Says I might never ever get the event, but my SEO is growing because they're clicking on my website to look at everything.
Just driving traffic, man. Driving traffic.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys for being with tonight. That was good round of questions and good answers. And hopefully those of you out there watching tonight have picked something up. If nothing else, maybe we just confirmed some of your ideas of what you're doing out there as a mobile entertainer. Next, Hanging with Howie at DJNTV.com/chill. And then tomorrow night we'll have the Tuesday night music show at 9 o'clock that will run. Then at 10 o'clock they'll be in the chill room again, recording the next Tuesday night music show. And then Wednesday we'll be doing a recording of the Howie show that'll be going up live or streamed on Wednesday night. So you guys can watch for those, and we'll be good to go. Otherwise, I think we need to wrap it up here because the guys are ready.
Okay. Well, on that note, thank you very much for taking time out of your night to join us. It was quite a bit of interesting seeing all the answers in the chat as well. I loved all of you that were chiming in there as well. I do want to wish everybody, if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you are Jewish, Happy Hanukkah. If you celebrate Kwanzaa, joyous Kwanzaa. And if there's one that I'm forgetting, I promise you it was not on purpose, but I wish you nothing but the best with that as well. Have yourself a great night, and we'll see you next time.
Everybody.